Okay, so this is the method section. So there were 48 participants, and they were mother-child dyads, and the children were around 65 months, or they had just turned 65 months. There was 24 males and 24 females. 37% of them were firstborns, and they were all primarily English-speaking. 44 of them were New Zealand Europeans, while the other 4 were New Zealand Maoris. I think that's how you say that. And they were all part of a larger longitudinal study in New Zealand. They were primarily middle class, and their mothers ranged in different education levels. So there was some that did not complete high school, while others completed postgraduate degrees. It was said that 45.8% of them continued their education after high school. The materials, so there was a video and audio recorder during each session recording the child. There was an unknown story, which was a perfect Father's Day. A puppet was used during the story retell, and there was a small gift presented to them at the end of the study. Some additional information, so there were 2 researchers that went to the participants' homes for 2 one-hour sessions within the 2 weeks of the participant turning 65 months. And there were 2 coders. So for the imaginary companion interview, they utilized Taylor 1993, and they asked the participants if they had any pretend or imaginary friends, and then if the participant said yes, they were then followed with 15 more questions, trying to get to know the imaginary friend a little more about like appearance, personality, race, gender, etc. And so there were also interviews done with the mothers too by the other researcher, trying to see if the mother was aware of their child having an imaginary friend in the past or even present. And then so the participant was considered if the child or mother currently acknowledged the imaginary friend or companion or had one in the past. So for the vocab skills, there was 2 tests, one in the first session, one in the second session. And so there was the Peabody Picture vocabulary test, which measured the participants' receptive vocabulary, while in the second session was the expressive vocabulary test, which measured the expressive vocabulary of the participant. So for the story comprehension, the researcher read an unknown story to the participant, which was a perfect Father's Day. And after that, they were asked 12 comprehension questions, and the questions totaled in 15 points. There was 1 plot question worth 2 points, and then the formal definition question was worth 3 points. And then so for the next was the story retell. So they were presented a puppet after the story, and were told that the puppet didn't get to hear the story, but wants to know what it was about. And so they were asked to retell the story to the puppet from beginning to end. And so the researchers were able to prompt the participants with the title and 2 suggestive prompts per page. But if the participant didn't respond or answer to the second prompt for that page, they would then move on to the next one. And so then we went to the past events narrative, and so the researchers asked the parents, or the mothers, I should say, what 3 past unique events occurred in their life within the past year. And it couldn't be a birthday or a holiday. So, and then so after, this happened after the storytelling session. And the researchers prompted the child with, "Your mother told me this happened, can you tell me more?" And then they would be also prompt with, "Wow, it's so interesting, what else?" and etc. And so The researchers took one out of the three narratives. They took the highest scoring one, and then they used it for the analysis. And then this also was part of the memory unit, because the more unique information the child presented for that event, the higher scoring it was and the more memory they had about it. And so the child's utterance containing the unique information. Yeah, thank you.